Official name. Okay, welcome everybody to another Shaar of Shaar haBitachon. We are here today, thanks to. Okay, done. Okay, we are here. Tonight's Shaar is sponsored graciously by Mrs. Sophia Ginsburg, which is actually haBitachon's mom. And she is sponsored tonight's Shaar in honor of her grandparents who were both perished in the war, Chuna Alexander ben Eliyahu, and his yahrzeit is Shvat, 1942, and Sara Sophia bas Peisach, Shvat, 1942. And I want to wish them an Eliyahu and Sara, and may their entire family be reunited with their loved ones, may meet them, and they should give their loved ones abundant nachas. I also want to give a huge thank you to Shira for coming early and helping to set up, even though it was freezing and even though there was an issue with the door. So a shout out to her. She's amazing and we're so grateful. Okay, so right now we are inside. Well, we're actually not going to start inside, but technically speaking, we are on page 67, which is in the midst of chapter 3, blanked out. No, because over here they call it shlishi. Yeah, parak shlishi. That's why I'm like, why does it not sound right? Yeah, so we're on page 67, and we left off how a person has no control over how long he will live, how much money he will earn, and when something will happen. Everything is in Hashem's hand. And we also left off with this incredible quote from Rabbi Shei's Tao, which said, situations are controlled by Hashem. The one area where Hashem gives us control is in our thoughts. So wherever you are for sure in the right place. You may just not be thinking about it the right way. So it's crazy Hashgacha Pratis because as soon as I sat down and I went to look at my phone for something, I saw that Sarah Dukes, Yudi Dukes' wife, so I'm part of her Tehillim group where we say Tehillim constantly for her family. And she posts updates there. So she just literally 30 minutes ago, she made a post that I'm gonna make it short, but she basically explained that she's having to realize that she's probably going to be missing a lot of l'chaims of her friends. She's going to be missing a lot of bar mitzvahs. She's probably going to be missing in family simchas and weddings and different things, because at this point in time, she needs to be there for her children. And not always is she able to find a babysitter, and not always is she able to arrange for all of the children to be there and go and whatever. And she said the initial feelings of resentment or bitterness may emerge, but then I consciously choose to let go. Even though I really, really want to attend whatever event it is, God is making it clear that I'm not meant to. That it's just not the time yet. Because I know that if I were supposed to be there, I would be. Just take a moment to realize that. If I were supposed to be there, I would be. Many times we live in this mindset of could've, should've, would've, I could have done this, I should have done this, if only I would have done this, or I should be there, but I'm not there, or I should be accomplishing all of these things, but I'm not able to right now. And it wears down at us. It gets us down. Today, for example, B'ezras Hashem, I hope to be very busy with the kinnis over the next few days. And I had a lot of things that needed to be finished today. Happened to be one of my kids wasn't feeling so great. He's not feeling badly, but just enough that we're like, okay, we're not going to send him to school. And so he ended up staying home. and I love him, but just having an extra pair of hands at home is just a whole other thing. Also, I didn't make the right decision last night. I went to bed very late, so it was very hard for me to think straight, and I was very tired. And it was a bunch of other things that it was very heavy on me. And I kept thinking, I need to get all these things done. I need to be at this point by this hour. By 1 o'clock, I should be done with that email, with that flyer, with that XYZ. And suddenly 1 o'clock, I just had an insane headache and I just couldn't handle it. So I just took a nap. I literally just I put Hannah to nap, and I told my other son, I'm like, I just need 15 minutes. You can go play. Baruch Hashem, he's old enough to do that. And I just took a nap, and I woke up and I realized I am exactly where I'm meant to be. Whatever gets done is going to get done. Whatever doesn't get done, it's just not meant to get done today. And that's that. And the moment I did that and I gave it back to Hashem, by 3 o'clock, I had done 99% of all the things. And even still, the one phone call, which I hadn't managed to squeeze in, I made it on my way to come here to teach that Shaar. And it was perfect. I caught her at the perfect time. And it was just perfect. So I wanted to share. There's an incredible magazine. Now it's, for anyone who's listening to the recording at a later time, just know that now is the women's kinnis. It's about to start. And this is a magazine. It's called Compass, Navigating the World of Shluchis for Shluchim by Shluchim. Several years ago, I used to work for Americas. So a huge shout out to America's Suite 302 and their entire team. I used to be part of it, and I still am somewhere deep inside. I love them and I support. So one of the things that they do is that they make a magazine to support Shluchim around the world. They publish it 3 times a year. And one is for the men's kinnis, one is for the women's kinnis, and one is around Gimel Tammuz. So I'm catching up on the men's kinnis edition, which you will hear a lot about, because I pulled in a lot of pieces for tonight's Shaar. So one of the pieces I wanted to start with is 24. Yeah, perfect. So here's a look at the compass, and it's funny because the whole theme of this compass, hey, this is such a treat. The whole theme of this compass is trachla de think good and it'll be good. I have to just pause. A huge shout out to everyone who came in person, because it's meant to snow later, and I'm very grateful that you guys came in person. There's quite a group on Zoom, and I'm glad for everyone that's here in person. Okay, so on page 24 on the compass for Shluchim, I wanted to read this excerpt because I feel like it really starts us off on the right footing. It's a letter. Sorry, it's an excerpt from a sicha from the Rebbe of Chaf Menachem of 5745. You can find it in Taras Menachem 5745, volume 5. So it said they titled it "Bitachon in Simple Terms." One of the foundations of our religion and the Torah is bitachon. The meaning of this is very simple: to trust in Hashem that everything will be good in an open and revealed way. This concept is clear from numerous places in Gemara and Midrash. It is also explained at length in Shaar haBitachon, which that's what we're learning tonight, in Chavas Alabaves, and also in Mamarei Chassidus. Even if your present situation seems unfavorable, as we discussed in the previous story, as is being shown to you from various directions, do not lose hope. Rather, strengthen yourself with complete bitachon in Hashem that the negative situation will be transformed to open and revealed good. Moreover, it will be even better than before, like light coming from darkness. This is especially so when your bitachon is accompanied by davening and good deeds. And I want to finish off with that, because that line, it will be even better than before, like light coming from darkness. And the story I told right before, I actually I actually kept a little piece out, which was, as much as I was having such an intense day, and it was very, very, very stressful, I had started davening, but I hadn't finished. And when I woke up from my nap, I realized I need to put my Hashem glasses on, which is our logo. And the way I can do that is through finishing my davening. And I know it was late, and I'm making al chait right here in front of everybody. It was late for davening, and it wasn't proper, and blah, 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 blah. But you know what? I needed to put my Hashem glasses on. And the moment I finished davening, I was like, okay, Hashem, I can pass this to your shoulders. And it just changes it. It just changes it. And as I said, for anyone who missed the ending to my story was that I was, as the kinnis is coming close, I have a lot to get done before basically tomorrow morning, because I'm going to be very busy with that over the next few days. And today, one of my kids was homesick, and it just added a whole other level of not being able to get a lot of stuff done. So it was just a rough day to begin with. But by the time I finished davening, I actually managed to get done 99.999% of the things I was meant to get done. And I somehow managed to do it in those 2 hours, because from 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock, it was just whatever. I was squeezing in davening and eating lunch and blah, 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 blah. And I still managed to get it all done. So just like here, it says, it will be even better than before, like light coming from darkness. And this is especially so when your bitachon is accompanied by davening and good deeds. So I wanted to start sharing with that story. Okay, so for anybody, if you'd like, there are copies over here. You could purchase if you'd like, or you could borrow it for the share. But yeah, so we're on page 67. So we left off last week that although sometimes we do see new, strange, and unexpected things, right? So many times we live life and there's a cog in the wheel, I think the saying goes, right? Everything's going smoothly. Monday was wonderful. Tuesday was really smooth for me. Wednesday, just halted my entire everything. Or in the story that I began to share with Mrs. Sarah Dukes, there's a big cog in her wheel that totally threw off her life. So there's different levels of cogs in the wheels that could, throw us off. So the thought that we could process through that is that those things were also decreed by Hashem from the beginning of time. And that's the thought we left off last week. So now let's enter into this week. This week is the next section, which is Hashem is the ultimate and only cause. So as much as we might think that there are other causes, I was recently discussing shidduchim with somebody, and she's like, can he just find me already? It's all his fault. And I joked, I'm like, I felt so bad. I made my husband wait. Like I was just not done with high school yet. But he had to wait for me. And yes, fine. Someone could think about it and be like, okay, it's my fault he had to wait. But on the other hand, Hashem decided the timing was just right. So we might think that there's other causes. Something else could be the cause for our struggle. But just a reminder that Hashem planned that all the way from the beginning. So let's start. Simply, all the prior decrees of Hashem that were in the foreknowledge of the Creator were decreed in such a way that they have direct causes for their occurrences. And those causes have prior causes. So we might think it's this one thing that broke. One tiny piece that, just threw everything off. But really, something led to something, which led to something, which led to something. And all of that process began from the beginning of time. Hashem had planned exactly how everything's going to fall through to this exact moment right here, right now. Make sense? However, which now comes the gullus mentality, someone who doesn't contemplate the manner in which the world is run, so someone who doesn't constantly think about how Hashem runs the world in such a way, when seeing a change in reality, will think that it is the new cause that forces a change in reality and the turnover from one matter to another, right? So this is the thing that changed it. We kind of forget that Hashem started the world and Hashem created all of the things leading to this moment. That one thing is what threw us off. In truth, however, the cause is too weak and insignificant to themselves be the cause of the change or transformation, as can be illustrated from the fact that a single grain of wheat produces 300 ears, and each ear of grain has 30 grains. So that one grain is therefore the cause for 10,000 grains, or close to that number, to be produced, right? So let's take a moment and think about it. Hashem gave the power of recreation to certain beings, whether it's a seed, as you can see, thanks to Chani, shout out to Chani. She added seeds or different cutlings or different pieces. And through that, now Baruch Hashem, Living Chassidus is nicely adorned with beautiful plants. But it used to be a one teeny tiny little seed. And from this, Chani is clever and she knows how to do it. And she cuts a little piece and she sticks it in some water. She sticks it in some first water, I think, and then soil. And then you can recreate something else. So every plant, every seed, even animals, as we'll say in a minute, there's a tiny piece that can create a whole bunch. There's one tiny egg that can create an entire human. There's one tiny seed that can create an entire field of grain. And still, even though those pieces have the power within them to recreate or to create, we're only creating something from something. We don't have the power to create something from nothing. Hashem gave the power to create something from something, to plants, to humans, to animals. And through that, we can get a sense. But for anyone who was there, I think it was last week at the Bonei Olam program, as much as humans have the ability, and they technically might have even the seeds and all the actual pieces, the bracha of children comes from Hashem. The bracha of success in growth comes from Hashem. And that's what we're trying to remember here. We might think it's in the seed, but in essence, Hashem is the one that gives the seed the power to reproduce. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. It is not apparent to a person's mind that the grain itself is too weak to be able to produce such a massive quantity. The same applies to all other seeds that are sown and planted. Similarly, we will say regarding the creation of human beings and other living creatures, which are created from a drop of seed. Here too, it is apparent that the drop itself does not have the power to be the source of the entire person. This is also evidenced from the fact that a big fish is created from a small egg of fish. Now, let's read the little asterisk on the bottom related in connection to human beings. So, creation of human beings, the birth of children, and the constant creation of generations, generation after generation, with a power for infinite generations, also expresses and is due to the infinite energy of Hashem that is present at conception. So the fact that they were great grandparents and great, you can say great, I don't even know how many times, above us, that led to us being here, that is all within Hashem. It wasn't necessarily them. They had a part because Hashem gave them the power to make our great, and then our great, and then our great, right? And the process continues. And the fact that we, Be'ezus Hashem, will have children and we will continue this process forward, that is all thanks to Hashem. So we might take credit, but it's really not up to us. Although, back to the regular text on page 68. Although created beings seem to have the power to change the quantity and the quality of other created beings, in truth, everything is a result of Hashem's will. The created beings that seem like the cause of the change that we witness are merely agents that Hashem uses for that purpose. Okay, so I actually want to share a story. Actually, let me read the next paragraph, and I want to share a story. Page 69 on the top. It therefore follows that when a person feels stress about his financial needs and the like, or he overexerts himself in his efforts to provide for himself, it is due to a lack of understanding of Hashem and how he runs the world. Now, I actually want to share a story. As I said in the beginning, in honor of the Kinnis, I'm actually sharing some stories from the Compass magazine that is for Shluchim. And I wanted to share in every issue recently, I mean, it wasn't always like this in the history of the magazine, but recently in every issue, they do a Shluchis spotlight, and they find the Shliach, and they basically tell his story and interview him, and he shares him and his wife and the family. They share what their Shluchis is like. So in this particular issue is Rabbi Shalom Doper Dubov, and he is in Orlando, Florida. And he is actually a descendant of Rabbi Yitzchak Dubov, who's a very famous chassid. He was very involved in Lubavitch with the Rebbe Rashab, and even with the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he was one of the first people to ask the Rebbe to take Messias. And it was very interesting because as I'm reading this, he seems to, kind of have everything all figured out. Like, I don't know if you guys know Chabad in Orlando, but he is the head shliach of the city of Orlando. Like, it's pretty major. And when it comes down to it, he tells this really beautiful story, which is hard to swallow at times. But I'll finish it off nicely. He says that in the beginning, he came with a dream. He came with such excitement. His whole goal was to give the Rebbe nachas, and he realized that the way to do it, the best way to do it, was to go on shluchos for him. That was exactly what he wanted. And he jumped right in. And as many of us, I think, have a fear, he jumped right in and he entered into the world of fundraising. Which I actually forgot. I wanted to share. I want to take on a new achlata in honor of this story to put up Pushka on the table, because we have to remember that it all comes from somewhere. The table doesn't come from nowhere, and it comes from Hashem, and it comes from donations. So, okay. So he basically was having a very, very hard struggle, and he was pretty much living off of credit cards, and he found himself in a nice amount of debt. And he said that he sat down with his wife and he did what he calls plastic surgery. What's plastic surgery? He took all of his credit cards, he took scissors, and he went cutting right through the plastic. And he decided he's going to change everything. And from that point on, he's not going to live off of imaginary, non-existent money. He's going to do everything it takes to live off of his own hard work. And it's very interesting because the section right after this story is titled "Getting Out of My Comfort Zone." And I'm like, that already started in this part. But he literally did this, I think it was Thursday evening. Thursday evening, he decided he's not using any more credit cards. He's going to figure it out. He's going to get some help, get some real help, which is another shout out to him. If anybody ever needs help, please feel free to reach out for help. Most of the time, our problems hold us down because we have them in here and in here all by ourselves. So he decided to reach out for help, and comes Friday, he cut them up on Thursday. Friday comes, what's coming? Shabbos. So what did he do? He literally goes around his house and he found every dollar, every penny, every dime. And he managed to get $8. And with $8, he went to the store and he literally bought Shabbos. What did he buy? He bought a box of matzah, a can of sardines, some potatoes, and a few other random necessities. And he said, and it was a tough Shabbos, but it was the most accomplishing Shabbos, because he decided that he was going to take this on for himself. He's not going to live off of imaginary nothingness. He's going to make it, and he's going to trust Hashem. And he said that at one point, a young Lubavitcher came to visit, and he was staying with him. And he's coming out of debt. He's in this process, and he still decides to host this guy. And while this guy was in the shower, they cut off the water because he was overdoing his bills. And he was so embarrassed. He runs right over to the company and he like wrote whatever check he could manage. He somehow paid it off, and they turned the water back on. But he basically said that at that point, this young Lubavitcher said to him, I was so inspired by your Mesiras Nefesh and everything you give to be here on Shlichus, that actually one day I'm going to go on Shlichus, thanks to this story. So I want to add another piece to this, which is, can you imagine if on your account, someone's literally in the shower and they turn off the water? Like, I would want to hide under my covers and never come out. And meanwhile, we don't know what Hashem has in store. Hashem made it that this guy couldn't pay his bill, so that this young Lubavitcher would be in the shower. Boom, they cut everything off. And that's what inspired him to go on Shlichus. And you know what? He is on Shlichus today, thanks to that shower being cut off. Can you imagine? So we don't always know the end result. We don't always know what's going to be. And we might feel like, oh my gosh, this was so terrible, so terrible. At the end of the day, Hashem made it from the beginning. He created the debt. So he created the cutting of credit cards. So therefore he created the $8 Shabbos. So therefore he created, so that this guy could be in the shower when the water gets cut off, and then he goes on shluchim. And how many thousands of lives have both of these shluchim changed just because of it? And just to end off with a beautiful, beautiful story, which I took out of this, which is so incredible, that during this time, he wrote to the rabbi. First of all, he reached out to other shluchim, and not first of all, at the same time, he reached out to other shluchim. They helped him a lot and they gave him a lot of guidance, but he also wrote to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe wrote in his letter back, in his own handwriting, Bivracha libsuras toivos. With bracha, we should hear good news. And he said, from that point on, I suddenly had good news to share with the Rebbe. It just, and it could be that the bracha of the Rebbe, and it could also be that his mindset shifted. Now he has good news to share with the Rebbe. And he has a whole section in here, which, one second, I think I have it. Yeah, so he has a whole section in here, which I think is going to get to many of the people in the room, which was that when I was a bacher in Shidduchim, things were not easy at first. My mother mentioned this to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe replied to her, Medarf haben bitachon und es wird sein. We need to have bitachon and it will come to be. I understood this as in a literal sense. Setting aside my worries and strengthening my bitachon would actually bring about the bracha. Not only would my perspective change, but the reality would change as well. As soon as I switched my mindset to one of trachgut with zaydgut, I met my wife. So yeah, I wanted to finish off with that. Okay, back to our main text. Everyone good? Yeah? Okay. Back to our main text. When a person troubles himself, again, page 69. When a person troubles himself with efforts to provide for his financial needs or any other needs, to hasten that which the Creator may he be exalted, has decreed should be delayed. Hasten means to speed up. So to speed up that which the Creator, may he be exalted, has decreed that should be delayed, or to delay that which has been decreed should be hastened, or by trying to produce many of that which has been decreed should be few, or trying to produce few of that which has been decreed should be many, regarding matters of the world, with the exception of those matters that are necessary for the advancement of mitzvah the advancement of observance of mitzvahs and the study of Torah. It is due to his weak understanding of the foreknowledge of Hashem, who knows and has already decided at the beginning of creation all that is going to be. It is also due to a lack of understanding of the inherent goodness of that in which he conducts himself with the person, because in truth, everything Hashem does is for the person's good. So, I don't think I even need to do a raise of hands, because I'm sure we've all been there, where we've trying to rush something We want something to come sooner, or we want something to be more, or we want something to be less, or we have our plan, exactly how it's meant to be. You know, we make our goals or we make our timeline. And it's funny because I'm like talking to myself right now. We're going to make a big announcement, but I will announce it to you guys here. But over the last several years, probably about 2 or 3, we've been working towards having my husband join Living Chassidus full time. It's a big decision. It's definitely a big step. Up until now, he was working somewhere where he had a salary. So switching to Living Chassidus means switching to fundraising. And we've been working on preparing both Begashmias and Baruchnias. So we set aside some savings and we prepared Living Chassidus' finances, and we've been working. And by amazing Hashgacha Pratis, we asked for a bracha this a few months ago, around Tishrei time. And around Cheshvan time, we got the Rebbe's bracha. And Baruch Hashem, over the next week, he's going to be doing that. So I really feel, and it's what's been happening with me today, is that a big chunk of what I've been trying to do is that we're preparing for a big campaign in about 2 months. And I have a schedule. This needs to be done by now. And this needs to be done by now. And this needs to be done by now. And a huge part of that schedule involves the help of my husband. And I'm like, can you just be done with your other job already? I need you here. And the whole day or the whole morning up until my, breakthrough and davening and whatever, I was so stressed out about all the things that haven't been done. And I'm trying to hasten, I'm trying to speed up a process. Whereas really, I am here right now because I am meant to be here right now. All the things that haven't been done is because they're not meant to be done right now. And all the things that will be done tomorrow will be done tomorrow. And that's it. And I think we can all take a moment to take that into our lives. What is this one thing or 2 things or several things that we're either trying to speed up? We want it to be done already. Like, come on. Or we're trying to slow down. Sometimes I blink and my kids are going too quickly. And I'm like, where are you guys going? But exactly right here, right now, that's exactly where we're meant to be. Okay. Let's continue on page 69. If somebody wants to close the door, I will not be against it because it is kind of cold. But again, if you don't, no, even just that white one. I have to figure out a door situation because in the winter it's freezing. Okay. Bottom of page 69. Oh, sorry. I forgot one of the asterisks. So we're going all the way to the bottom to the footnote asterisk. Those matters that are necessary for the advancement of observance of mitzvahs and the study of Torah, it is due to his weak understanding of the foreknowledge of Hashem, right? So we said, you can't speed up anything and you can't slow down anything except for anything that has to do with Torah and mitzvahs. If it has to do with Torah and mitzvahs, you can change it. You can work on it. You can improve it. You can make a change. So let's read this. Toiling for materialism as if we can change the divine plan is like opening a bank account, but not creating proper means to earn money. Therefore, we must always be aware that the source of everything is Hashem, and that it is his blessing that will make us rich. So adding extra into our work or into our involvement of whatever kind, going and pushing and trying to make it faster, make it slower, trying to fit it into our schedule is like opening a bank account, but not really realizing how the money comes in. If you don't have a source of income, your bank account is just not going to help. Hashem is the bank. We make the keli. Hashem is the one that puts the money in. So remembering that aspect of it, that you can make a change through your study of Torah and doing mitzvahs. Okay. Page 69. If Hashem has decided that a person will have something at a given time, it will come to him at that time without his need to worry or overexert himself. He will not be able to make it happen earlier by exerting himself. Similarly, if it has been decreed that a person will receive a certain amount of money for his livelihood, it is not in his power to change it. Any extra effort a person puts into his livelihood or other needs is due to his lack of understanding of the ways in which Hashem functions and his lack of belief in Hashem's inherent goodness. However, regarding those worldly matters that are necessary for the purpose of learning Torah and the observance of mitzvahs, the person is required to make extra effort. This is because when it comes to the service of Hashem, we have the principle that everything is in the hands of heaven aside from the fear of heaven. Since Hashem gives a person free choice regarding these matters, it follows that he can and should make an extra effort in these matters. I will also remind us that there is a section in this book, and we discussed it in the past as well, that it also doesn't mean sitting on the couch twiddling your thumbs waiting for Hashem to drop man from earth, from the heavens. Hashem wants us to make a keli. The difference is, as we explained actually in Tanya, if you make too much of a keli, sometimes it's like wearing too many garments. Like, I recently took out, winter is so hard for me. It's just so hard. I'm like home all day because I can't stand the cold. I'm just not made for the cold. Although Hashem made me live here, so therefore it must mean that I am somehow made for the cold. But I don't usually take my daughter out. She's 18 months. And I don't usually take her out so often because it's just so cold and I feel so bad for her. But she really wanted to go out. So I stick her in this like puffy thing. She literally looks like a little marshmallow and like all walking around with her little teeny tiny toddler feet. And she's so smushed in like this cute little winter coat that she just like wobbles, and I felt so bad for her. Like I wish she could just walk around freely. And in a certain sense, that's what it is. If we spend too much time worrying and putting so much into it, we just end up tripping over our own clothes. We're putting too many clothes on. At the same time, you still have to wear clothes. So it's a balance. It's a balance of how to play that out. But okay, let's read one more section from here. It's this time, it is a letter from the 15th of ER. It's in Ikras Kodesh, volume 17, page 100. And this is the English translation of it. No place for worry. As is known, the remedy for banishing worrisome thoughts is haBitachon. Many places explain at length how you can explain the concept of haBitachon to yourself, including Shaar, haBitachon, and Chavas Alavavos. We're here. In truth, haBitachon is it's a direct outcome of the basics of our belief, as we are all believers, sons of believers. We believe that Hashem watches over every person individually, that he is essentially good, and that all he does is for the best. If so, what is there to worry about? Worrying can only happen if you forget about these basic beliefs. I will note that this is only true with matters that are in Hashem's hands. Chazal say that everything is Hashem's hands except for matters of Yiras Shamayim. Therefore, when it comes to Torah and mitzvahs, you should worry about improving yourself so that your actions will match up with the purpose of your creation, namely to serve Hashem. So yes, there is what we can do. We shouldn't worry. We shouldn't overexert ourselves and try to match Hashem's plan to our plan. But we can do something, and that is working on Torah mitzvahs. Okay, back to the text. This concept has already been alluded to by the wise man, King Solomon, when he said, everything has an appointed season, and there is a time for every matter under heaven. After saying this, he mentions 28 different things that have set times, as he says, a time to give birth, a time to die, until the end of his list when he says, a time for war and a time for peace. Similarly, he says, for time and fate will overtake them all. These psukim are brought as support that a person is not able to hasten that which has been decreed to be delayed or vice versa, because everything has an appointed season. Let's read the asterisk on the bottom. Everything has an appointed season. The words in the final verse, for every matter under heaven, are understood here to mean that only those actions that are taken to advance his material desires have a fixed time. However, matters that are relevant to learning Torah and observing mitzvahs do not have a fixed time, and therefore the person's actions can indeed make a difference. Okay, back to the regular text. He also says, for the highest over the high weights, and there are higher ones over them. This has brought us support that although we perceive the cause of events in a certain way, in truth, these causes have higher causes, and ultimately everything has been preordained by Hashem. Right? So as we started in the beginning, your great-great-great-great-great-grandparents did exactly what they needed to do in order for them to lead to you being exactly where you're meant to be. And every step in the chain is exactly how it's meant to be for us to be right here, right now. Which leads to another incredible book. It's very funny because it's called The Path of Tshuva, Reclaiming the Self by Rav Dov Pinson. As I'm sure you guys know, I'm kind of a fan of his. And it's very funny because this is technically a book for Elul. And it's meant to kind of be that you read one chapter a day and each day you work on it. I have never been able to read it in Elul. It's just so busy and so hectic. So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to read it in Shvat. That was it. And it's actually very powerful at any time of year. So if you're ever looking for a really good book and really clarifying what Tshuva really means, I would definitely suggest this because a lot of people have a grave misconception of Tshuva. Okay, so I wanted to read on page 21 of The Path of Tshuva, Reclaiming the Self by Rav Dov Pinson. He actually speaks about this. The first chapter is all about being in the present. So he says that after the Rabbi Rav Moshe Kubrin, which is some Hasidic rabbi, the Rabbi Mendel of Kotsk actually came to his disciples. He came to his Chassidim, and he said, "Okay, now that your Rebbe passed away, what was so special about him? What can we do to eulogize him? Like eulogize your Rebbe." And they actually said that there was no particular area in life in which he excelled. He was unique, however, in that whatever he was doing at that moment, he was completely present. Whatever occupied him at any given moment was all that was relevant to him. Wherever he was fully there. According to human nature, what we acquire easily and without exertion or difficulty is less valuable and exciting than that which we work hard to accomplish. So it says in Baba Metzia, it says a person would rather possess one coin that they earned than 9 coins granted to them. This phenomenon extends beyond the realm of objects and into the realm of time as well. So let's take a moment. So now this idea that one thing earned is better than 9 things that were just, so to speak, free. With the exception of peak moments, the present often feels less thrilling or relevant than the past or the future. We feel like we have earned the past by going through it or surviving it. I mean, we all know something where like, oh man, it's funny, not funny, but interesting. A friend of mine just had a very big cut and she had a few stitches. And suddenly she tells a story and everybody's pulling out their cuts. You know, like, oh, I got my stitches over there and see my stitches over here. Like we earned these battle scars, right? So what happened in the past, we earned it. We went through it, we survived. It was so tough and we managed and it was so amazing. And we have a sense that we have to earn the future by working towards it. We tend to look forward or backwards, while the most important part of our reality is the present. And this appears less attractive. Even as we take it for granted, the present moment still sits silently, waiting for us to fully inhibit it and recognize its significance. So we take a moment and we could think about all the coulds, would have, should have, everything from the past, whether it's a good thing or not a good thing. We dwell on the past. And then we spend so much time worrying what's going to be. Oh my gosh, what if? I'm not going to do a raise of hands because I know we've all been there. We've all done what if. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if he says that? What if she doesn't say that? We have to just live right here, right now. And that's usually what we forget. Let's just check on them. Okay, great. Okay, back to the text. The way in which the Creator upholds his decrees are too hidden, deep, or lofty for us to understand even a part of them. And as it says in the bottom, for if we were to understand him and his ways, we would actually be him. All the more so are we not capable of understanding all of them. The Peisach already says, as the heavens are higher than the earth, and so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. Although there appear to be changes in nature, it cannot be said that Hashem changed his mind, so to speak. Rather, at the beginning of creation, he decided that nature would change according to his decision at that time. As support for his super-rational concept, the author quotes the Peisach, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. So I want to finish this off because we can't truly understand. And our job is to realize that we can't understand, and our job is to try to understand as much as we can in order to remind us that we can't understand. You know the joke that the more Torah you know, the more you realize you don't know. So that in essence is not just about Torah, it's about Hashem. The more we remind ourselves, and it's an active thing. I had a friend who said to me, she goes, I want to make sure that I constantly have haBitachon in my mind. Can you help me find the painting that'll sit in my wall? So it reminds me that haBitachon is, Hashem's in charge. So we did, and we're working hard to find this painting. I was discussing with my husband. My husband said, in addition to the painting, you have to constantly be learning. You have to constantly remind yourself in a process of learning about it and reminding yourself and learning more and then reminding yourself more and learning more. And then it's constant. So a nice painting on the wall is good. Don't get me wrong. It's beautiful. I actually have a sign I put up for my labor that has ginormous letters. It says haBitachon. It's a nice sign, but it could just sit on my wall unless I constantly remind myself, what is this haBitachon I'm working on, right? So we have to remind ourselves, and how do we do this? We go back to this section, which is Torah and mitzvahs, and doing so through davening. Davening is this process of reminding ourselves every single day to put on our Hashem glasses. Every day we take a moment and we say, wow, Hashem, you created the world. You helped me stand up straight. You give me, my clothes that I need, even just from brachos, even my da'ani. Thank you, Hashem, for being right on top of me and making sure I wake up another day. This is a constant process. I want to bench everybody. You should live with it, that tonight's share should carry you through and carry you through and carry you through. And that when you're davening, and even when you're not davening, you should make it practical, because that's what living chassidus is all about. And a reminder for everyone who wasn't here yet, that tonight's share is beautifully and graciously sponsored by Mrs. Sophia Ginsburg, which is haBitachon's mom, in honor of her grandparents, Chuna Alexander ben Eliyahu and Sara Sophia Bas Peisach, and for their Eliyahu and Sara, and we should be reunited with our loved ones right now with Mashiach. Awesome. Thanks for coming. Go to the